I'm John Lloyd Cristo.
I'm Maris Sumugat and we are here to present about the participial phrase and its functions.
Hi, I'm Jennifer Barrientos, and let's talk about the participial phrases. A participial phrases is a phrase that looks like a verb but actually functions as an adjective. It modifies a noun in the same sentence. Example of participial phrases. Number 1, fond of brushing her hair, Kelly always had smooth and silky socks. So it tells us about something Kelly, a noun and the subject of sentence. The word the fond of brushing her hair, and that's a participial phrases. For example, number 2, the trash can sat in the corner bringing with garbage. The word bringing with garbage, that a participial phrases. Next is participle. What is a participle? Participle is form of a verb, but it acts a noun or an adjective. They modify another nouns in sentence, like a participial phrases. Example, the present participle. What is present participle? Present participle express the action verb, and it always ends in ing in every single time, significantly in the present. Past participle. Past participle usually end in ed for regular participle. Example of present participle. With the verb to smile, we get a present participle of smiling, and that's the participle in action. For example of past participle is a regular because the word hang doesn't end in ed, like regular past participle. Next is a noun. When we talk about noun, it is a person, a place, a thing, or an animal, and always usually the subject of sentence. For example, number 1, the word blinking in the dark, that's a noun. That a participle phrases, and the noun on that sentence is the phone. For example, number 2, the noun on that sentence is the dark.
Nouns. A noun is a person, place, or things and is usually the subject of a sentence. Common nouns are words like dog, book, or computer, and it can also be the name of a specific people or places. For example, the phone was almost out of battery power, blinking in the dark. The phrase blinking in the dark from the example serves as the noun. The word blinking might make sense on its own in another sentence, but in this sentence, the noun dark gives us a better sense on what is going on. Another example is, the phone was almost out of battery power, blinking. The noun dark was removed from the example sentence, yet we still understand what is the meaning of the sentence although we don't know what is blinking or why it is blinking. It is because the phrase in the dark was removed that makes the participial phrase feel incomplete. Next is modifier. A modifier will obviously modify a noun. They can be lots of different kinds of words such as adjectives, adverbs, or even participles as long as they modify a noun. For example, quickly opening the bag, Carrie found her favorite notebook. The word quickly tells us on how Carrie opened her bag, and that makes it as a modifier. However, the whole sentence tells us on how Carrie found her notebook. Example, this sentence. Pouring a glass of milk, Amanda concentrated. In this sentence, we can see that there is no comma after the word milk. That's why the sentence seems like someone is pouring a glass of something called milk Amanda. But if we put comma after the word milk, it makes much more sense saying that Amanda, which is the noun, is concentrating on pouring a glass of milk.
B. Avoid dangling modifier. This happens when a participial place is put in the wrong place, and that makes it seem like they're describing the wrong noun or subject in a sentence. So it means that it can confuse people, but it can also create some pretty misunderstandings, and the sentence doesn't make logical sense. Here are some examples of a misplaced participial phrase and how to correct it. Example 1. The cup of water spilled everywhere, and Connor walked over to clean it up, dripping over the sides of the table. Explanation. The participial phrase in the sentence is dripping over the sides of the table. When you hear it, you know already that it stuck in the wrong place. So it looks like that Connor is dripping up the table and not the water. Cup of water and Connor are both nouns, but the participial phrase can only modify one of them. So it should be put closer to its noun so the sentence make more sense and understandable. Example 2. What it should look like. The cup of water is spilled everywhere, dripping over the sides of the table, and Connor walked over to clean it up. Explanation. Now, we can clearly see that the water is dripping and not Connor. It's important to link your participial phrase to the right noun so that your sentence don't get too hard to understand. C. Avoid confusing gerunds with participial phrases. Gerunds are verb phrases that act as nouns, but participial phrases act as adjectives. Gerunds look like a participial phrases, but it actually does something different when it's used in a sentence. Here are some sentences with gerunds and participial phrases so you can tell them apart. Example 1. Turning the light on is a necessity at night. Explanation. In the sentence, turning the light on is gerund. We can tell that it's gerund because the phrase acts as a noun in the sentence. The rest of the sentence describes the gerund by saying that it's a necessity at night, so that gerunds might look just like participial phrase. But make sure you figure out what the phrase is doing because you decide what is it. Example 2. Turning the light on, Haley walks into the room. Explains that we can clearly see that the same phrase is a participial phrase. It sets up from the main clause of the sentence. Haley walks into the room with a comma. Also, if we take it out, the participial phrase, the sentence still makes sense. The phrase turning the lights on describes Haley instead of being described like a gerund would. Should remember. Number 1. Gerunds and participial phrase can sometimes be the X of some words, but they have different functions. Number 2. Avoid confusing them by checking for signs that a phrase is a gerund or a participial phrase. Number 3. Look for commas that set the phrase apart from the sentence. They can be small clues that you're looking at a participial phrase, but it has big impact in a sentence. Number 4. Make sure to read over the sentence to see how the phrase acts within the entire sentence. You will ask yourself if it is a noun or the subject of the sentence, or is it describing the noun or subject? And lastly, if you can take the phrase out and still have a complete sentence, you're probably dealing with a participial phrase. This is the last part of the video. Thank you for listening.